Hi everyone, morning. This is What's New in AWS Cost Optimization. We are thrilled to have you here, and today we are going to be walking you through 4 exciting announcements of new products and features that we have launched. But before we get started, I want to thank everybody in the room for your feedback and your contributions to our product roadmap. We at Amazon always try to work backwards from our customers, and forums like this are one of the absolute best ways for us to do it. So whether it's participating in our customer feedback sessions, one-on-one meetings, or just grabbing us in the hall to have a casual conversation, all of your feedback is immensely important in driving our product roadmaps, and hopefully you'll see that reflected in some of the launches today. My name is Liam Greenamyre. I'm a principal product manager in AWS Billing and Cost Management, focused on cost visibility and reporting. Today I'm joined by Jimmy and Rick, and like I said, we're going to tell you about some of our exciting new product announcements today. So we're going to start with a new feature in Amazon Q Developer to help you with cost optimization. Now, this morning we talked about in the keynote both FinOps for AI and AI for FinOps. And this is a product that is going to bring AI to the world of FinOps to help make all of your lives easier as FinOps practitioners. Now, I mentioned the feedback that we get from the community. Let's start with some data from the most recent State of FinOps survey. What we see from this data is that cost optimization remains the #1 priority for FinOps practitioners, and not by a small margin. But we also know that it takes time and expertise to be successful with cost optimization. It starts with discovering what opportunities are available to you. AWS has so many services and so many different resource types that it can be hard to know what techniques are available to you to optimize your costs. And while the volume and variety of recommendations that we offer are extremely valuable, it can also make it hard to know what to prioritize or where to focus or what to start with. Now, once you've gotten your arms around what recommendations are available to you, it's also critical to build trust in those recommendations. So the other thing that we hear from FinOps practitioners is that one of the top reasons it can be difficult for engineering teams to take action on cost optimization recommendations is that they need to build confidence in them and be confident that it's not going to degrade their application performance, because they're the ones who are going to get paged if something goes wrong. So there are a lot of metrics and configurations and parameters that go into these recommendations, and it can be hard to really understand exactly how it was, how each recommendation was calculated, so that you can really pressure test it and know that it's the right thing to do for your organization. And then finally, once you have a recommendation that you feel confident in, it's not enough to know what to do. You need to know how to do it. And knowing how to implement each recommendation at a detailed level can be a challenge. So all of these things slow down the adoption of cost optimization recommendations throughout your organization and ultimately lead to you leaving money on the table. So with those challenges in mind, we're thrilled today to announce cost optimization capabilities in Amazon Q Developer. Amazon Q Developer can now act as your expert guide throughout the cost optimization journey, helping you identify opportunities, build confidence in recommendations, and know how to implement. So let me take a step back. How many of you, by show of hands, are familiar with or have used or have at least heard of Amazon Q Developer? Okay, good show of hands there. Now, how many of you were aware that you can use Q to help with your FinOps practice? Smaller. Good. We're going to change that today. Now, let's talk a little bit about what Q Developer is. So Amazon Q Developer is AWS's Gen AI-powered assistant for software development, and it really helps the entire software development lifecycle. So it's available in your IDE, in the command line, and it can help you do things like write new features, document your code, write tests, modernize applications. Another thing that it can do that people are less familiar with is it can also help you operate and manage your AWS estate. So doing things like troubleshooting operational issues and analyzing your cost data. This is an area where the pace of innovation is very rapid, and we're excited with some of the technology developments that we've seen over the last year. In fact, just last week, Amazon Q announced a new agentic experience in the console that allows it to answer more complex queries by creating an execution plan, calling multiple tools and APIs to gather data, and then collating all that information into a single response. And we are happy to be building on those capabilities with the release of cost optimization capabilities in Amazon Q Developer. So let's take a look at how Q Developer helps solve some of those challenges that we mentioned earlier. Starting with discovering opportunities. Now you can ask simple questions like, what are some easy, low-risk ways to lower our costs? And you can see lists of recommendations that are prioritized by implementation effort, and also whether you can roll back those recommendations if you do implement them. You can also ask more targeted questions like, do we have any idle EC2 instances? Or what EBS volumes do we have that can be migrated to GP3? Once you've understood those recommendations, you also need to build trust in them, like we talked about. So you can ask questions like, how is this recommendation calculated? And you can get natural language, easy to understand explanations of exactly how the recommendation was calculated. And you can ask follow-up questions like, what was the CPU utilization on that instance? Or what metrics did this consider? Were memory metrics enabled on this instance? And then finally, you can ask questions about how to implement those recommendations. So what are the steps to migrate to a new instance size? Or how do I check if this workload is actually compatible with Graviton or ARM-based processors? So let's take a closer look at how the feature works. So I'll do another quick show of hands here. How many of you are familiar with Cost Optimization Hub? Good, good. So Cost Optimization Hub is a service we launched about 18 months ago that helps to aggregate and summarize and deduplicate cost optimization recommendations from a bunch of different sources within AWS. It supports more than 15 different types of resources and recommendation types, ranging from right-sizing EC2 instances to finding and terminating idle EBS volumes, to updating auto-scaling group configurations, to purchasing reserved instances and savings plans. Cost Optimization Hub also deduplicates your savings. So for example, if you have recommendations both to right-size an EC2 instance and purchase a savings plan, the savings from the right-sizing action are backed out from the savings of the savings plan recommendation so that you actually have an accurate picture of the total amount of savings opportunities for your organization. And Cost Optimization Hub, of course, also takes into account your specific discounts, such as savings plans, RIs, or any negotiated discounts that you have. Now, let's talk about how Q actually uses this information from Cost Optimization Hub. One of the absolute most important things that we've heard from customers as we've started down this path of Gen AI for FinOps is that accuracy and transparency are absolutely paramount. And so you'll notice at the top of the response that it displays the specific API parameters that were used to gather the information, and then it also provides a link to where you can view that information in the console, all of which allows you to validate that the data is exactly what you expect and to build trust in what you're seeing from Q. So let's take a look at a detailed response from Q Developer. So you can ask a question like, why is this EBS volume considered idle? And what it'll do in this case is it'll pull information not only from Cost Optimization Hub, but also from the underlying services that generated this recommendation, like in this case, Compute Optimizer. And so what it'll tell you in this case is that we classify an EBS volume as idle when there were less than one read or write operations per day over the last 14 days, and tell you exactly how many read and write operations we actually observed over that time. So you can more easily understand and build trust that the recommendation is actually safe and is going to deliver the impact that you expect. Let's look at another example. So here, the question is, why are you recommending this savings plan? Here, Q is going to describe not only some of the summary metrics like your projected utilization, upfront costs, and the return on investment, but it's also going to provide some information about how the recommendation was actually calculated describing how a recommendation engine tests various commitment values to find the optimal balance between commitment level and savings. And last, we'll take a quick look at what implementation looks like with QDeveloper. So when you ask a question like, how do I migrate my instance to Graviton, you'll get a response that goes far beyond the surface level. In this case, it's suggesting helpful tools and techniques like the porting advisor for Graviton to help you assess whether your workload is actually compatible with Graviton-based instances. And then it also gives advice on how to handle associated resources like elastic IP addresses or load balancers. So how do you get started with this new feature? There's two easy ways. One is that in the cost optimization hub page in the billing and cost management console, you can now select any recommendation and click the Analyze with Amazon Q button, which will give you a natural language explanation of exactly how that recommendation was calculated, as we just saw. And then from anywhere in the AWS console, if you go to the top right corner, there's a Q icon. You can click that, it'll open this chat panel, and then you can simply ask a question like, how do I start saving money on AWS, or what EBS volumes can I terminate? So that was a brief run through of the new cost optimization features in Amazon QDeveloper. This is an area where we are excited to continue to invest, and we expect to release a lot more new features and capabilities and integrate with more of our services in the coming months. So I'm now going to hand it over to Jimmy, who is going to tell us about Aurora IO optimized recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy, and I'm a product manager at AWS. I'm representing the team behind our optimization products like Compute Optimizer and Cost Optimization Hub. And every day, we think about how we can help you, our customers, optimize your spend and your usage. Today, we do that through a number of recommendations that Liam had mentioned. And we're continuing to invest in this area to make sure that we are generating these insights for you to understand where you can optimize and what are the different opportunities that you can optimize your infrastructure. And so I'm really excited to share with you today our newest set of recommendations for Aurora databases available today for free in Compute Optimizer and Cost Optimization Hub. Quick show of hands, how many of you guys have teams using Amazon Aurora today? Wow, awesome. And keep your hands up if Amazon Aurora is a significant part of your spend today. All right, so after the session, go check out Compute Optimizer and Cost Optimization Hub, because I think you'll discover some very valuable new savings opportunities. We have recommendations for both Aurora instances as well as the database storage options as well. And so you'll find these opportunities for your entire cluster. But today we'll focus on the cluster storage side because that's the new recommendations that we just launched. With Amazon Aurora, you get two database storage options. You get Aurora Standard, or you can choose Aurora IO Optimize. With Aurora Standard, you're paying for the database instances in your cluster, you're paying for the storage, and you have to pay for every read and write operation to that database. And this can be a really cost-effective option if you have a stable workload, if you have low to moderate IO usage. But if you've got a really IO-intensive workload on your database, you might want to consider IO optimized. Here, you're paying for a higher rate for the instance and the storage, but you don't have to worry about every individual read and write operation to that database. So how do you choose? How do you know when to use Aurora Standard, and how do you know when to migrate over to IO optimize? Well, we've done the heavy lifting for you. For every Aurora cluster in your organization, we analyze the database instances in that cluster. We analyze the cost and usage of the storage as well as the IO in that cluster to decide when we can identify savings opportunities for every individual cluster. And you can adjust this look-back period up to 93 days, so you can capture those monthly and quarterly patterns in your usage to generate these insights. And we do that for every cluster, and we give you the option to compare both the Aurora standard cost to the Aurora IO optimized option. When you go to Compute Optimizer and you click into each of these recommendations, this is what you'll see. At the top, Compute Optimizer will tell you if we've identified a cluster that can be more optimized with a better cost. And we also show you both options side by side, so you get the information to make this decision. The key part here is really the breakdown between the instance costs, the storage costs, and the IO costs. So you have complete visibility into how we come up with this recommendation. And you can see what the incremental cost is and where that cost is coming from. Now, customers tell us cost isn't the only thing they care about. Developers have told us they loved using IO optimized because they don't have to worry about spikes in IO usage when there's changing demand or there's an issue that causes the cost to spike. Finance teams tell us they like IO optimized because they don't have to forecast what their IO usage is going to be. They have a very predictable cost based on the instance and the storage usage. And so based on that feedback, we're presenting IO optimized as an option to help you understand how that might help you improve cost predictability for your Aurora clusters. So you can understand what that cost would look like, even if your current cluster is optimized from a cost perspective. You get the same breakdown of your cluster instance costs, your storage costs, as well as your IO costs, and you get graphs of your IO usage over the look-back period, so you understand what that pattern looks like. So you can go to your developers and make a decision on whether IO optimized is the right option for that cluster. Now, it was really great to see all the hands earlier of all of you using Cost Optimization Hub. Customers tell us they love seeing all of their recommendations in one place. And so with these new recommendations, they will automatically be available in Cost Optimization Hub as well, so you can aggregate them across your organization, you can prioritize and evaluate them with the other opportunities. So I encourage you to go check out these new recommendations. I hope you find some new savings opportunities, and we're really excited to hear your feedback. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rick to talk about the remaining launches that we have.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for all coming and attending our sessions. We love launching new optimization features. We love launching free software to help you save money. There's a few open seats still available here in the inner area. Can you raise your hand if you have an open seat next to you so we can get some more folks to have an option to take a seat for the remainder of the session? Cool. Okay, so if you guys want to make some more room or take any of those open seats, feel free to. So I want to talk about two additional launches that we did in preparation for FinOps X. First, I want to talk about Trusted Advisor. How many of you use Trusted Advisor? Okay, a lot. So Trusted Advisor's been around for a really long time. It's a big part of how organizations have detected opportunities for cost, security, compliance, and all sorts of different use cases. And one of the things we heard from customers pretty routinely was, when do I use Trusted Advisor versus when I use Cost Optimization Hub, Compute Optimizer, or even the Cost Explorer commitment recommendations? So we worked with the Trusted Advisor team, and we took a look at what it would mean to take all of the recommendations we had in the Cost Optimization Hub and port them over into Trusted Advisor, so engineers, application teams, and individual users of AWS resources would see the same recommendation results in all of those products. So we're pleased to announce that last Thursday, we launched an integration between the two different products, and there are now 15 new recommendations for optimization in Trusted Advisor that match what you see in Cost Optimization Hub. Now, the benefit of these new 15 recommendations are if you have custom pricing or RIs and savings plans that might impact the cost structure of your resources that would change the recommendations, all of that awareness that you have today in Cost Optimization Hub will be reflected in the savings amounts that you see in those trusted advisor checks. Another benefit is that you're going to have consistent recommendation results no matter what product you use. So you no longer have to figure out, well, when should I use which tool? You are now free to use all of those tools and see the same exact recommendations and savings results no matter what tool or experience you have. So if you've already built integration with Trusted Advisor, for example, no need to rebuild or redesign your integration. These new checks will be in Trusted Advisor, have been since Thursday, and you can just keep using them where you're used to. Otherwise, like if you have started integrating with Cost Optimization Hub or standardized on that product for your recommendation needs, all of those recommendations now match, so you'll no longer have to field questions on, why am I seeing a different savings number? How come this recommendation doesn't match? And then also, lastly, the customization capability. I have a question for you all. Have any of you used customization in Compute Optimizer to tune your recommendations to make them more sensitive or have higher savings or adjust the look back? By a show of hands, have you adjusted or tuned your right-sizing recommendations? Okay, so I encourage you to take a look at this. If you go into AWS Compute Optimizer, you can adjust your recommendations and change your look-back period, such as using 32 days or 93 days of history. You can change things like how sensitive the recommendations are to spikes and peaks, or you can add additional headroom into the recommendations or remove headroom. So those are great options you have at your fingertips to make these recommendations more specific to your organization's comfort level of doing things like right-sizing. When you make those adjustments in Compute Optimizer, those recommendations will flow through into Cost Optimization Hub and now Trusted Advisor with all of your customization intact. So that's a really big benefit, is that if you have specific interest in maybe more safe or higher savings results in those recommendations, that will be passed along to all of the users that are looking at recommendations across all of these products. So these 15 new recommendations, 9 are replacing existing Trusted Advisor checks. These are things like idle EBS, underutilized EC2 instances, things that you might have seen in Trusted Advisor in previous years. Replacing these checks with the Compute Optimizer idle recommendations, which launched at reInvent last year, is a way for us to improve the look-back period and accuracy and reduce the false positive rates of idle resources and right-sizing recommendations. These Compute Optimizer recommendations that are flowing in here, they take into account CPU, memory, disk, network, CPU performance differences between different instance families. So all of that maturity and all the work that we've been doing to launch new recommendations, just like the Aurora IO optimized recommendations in Compute Optimizer, those sorts of advancements and investments we've made in our right-sizing recommendations are now flowing into Trusted Advisor, so you get all of the benefits of these new advancements. And then we also have 6 new checks. These are for things that maybe we launched recently, new recommendation types like reserved capacity recommendations or reserved node recommendations, which are more recent launches we've done in the Cost Optimization Hub. Those will show up as completely new checks. So within Trusted Advisor, you'll see all of these new checks. They're summarized and aggregated by service type. So what you'll see is you'll see one line item for DynamoDB or one line item for EBS, and you can expand each one of those and see all of the individual recommendations underneath each service. I'm gonna dive in a little bit here on one specific one, which is EBS. You'll notice that we say EBS is one check, but underneath EBS, there's all sorts of different recommendations. You might have unattached EBS volumes, which is the first recommendation. And the recommendation there would be to delete an unattached resource. You might also have upgrade recommendations to go from GP2 to GP3. You might also have idle EBS volumes that have low or no IO utilization over the look-back period. And so we're aggregating all of those different types of recommendations for EBS all in one place in Trusted Advisor. So you don't have to go collect those different recommendations from different places. It's all in one place for you. So in Trusted Advisor, you can also open up any of those individual recommendations and it'll tell you where did it source that recommendation from. Did it come from Cost Optimization Hub? Did it come from Compute Optimizer? And you can always select the link to go to the product that generated the recommendation if you'd like to see more utilization information or details on how that recommendation was generated. Or, as Liam talked about earlier, you can now ask Q for more information on how this recommendation was generated and what data sets went into how that works. Okay, now I want to talk about a new feature in the Cost Optimization Hub. So a lot of you already use Cost Optimization Hub. And one of the biggest focus areas for Hub is making sure the amount of savings you see in that product is an accurate reflection of your potential optimization opportunity. Right now, and when we launched Cost Optimization Hub, we used logic to find the highest total potential savings that you can achieve. And that meant typically using things like 3-year savings plans and 3-year RIs. Now, not everybody uses 3-year savings plans and RIs for all of their purchases. You might prefer things like 1-year, no upfront commitments instead of 3-year. And the savings amount may be lower, but you gain more flexibility. So in the Cost Optimization Hub, as of last Thursday, you can now customize your commitment preferences. And what this means is you can go into the Cost Optimization Hub and set a default approach to what sort of commitment purchases you'd like to see summarized and totaled up in the hub. So you can now select term and payment type options in the Cost Optimization Hub. And Cost Optimization Hub will refresh all of the recommendations and rerun the deduplication logic that Liam talked about, which is removing the overlapping savings from all of the commitment recommendations and all of the right size and idle recommendations, and show you a total savings amount that is now based on your preferred payment type and term variables and factors that you would prefer to use. How many of you typically only use 1-year commitments in your purchasing? Right, so the idea here is now you can set those preferences, all of the recommendations will refresh, and then you'll see a savings number that's more reflective of what your savings target could be using those commitment purchase models. So in the Cost Optimization Hub, you'll see at the bottom, if you open it up after this session and take a look at it, there's a new little call out at the bottom that says you can now customize your preferences, and there's a little link that'll take you to the preferences page to make this nice and easy for you. It's just a few simple clicks. And you can go adjust your payment type and term. So you can set them. Now, again, by default, what happens is Cost Optimization Hub will find the highest total potential savings, which typically means a 3-year all upfront type of commitment. And now you can override that behavior and select your preferred type of commitments. So when you click that link and go into preferences, you'll see a couple of new dropdowns, term length, payment type. This is in the same Cost Optimization Hub preferences settings page where you set settings for all of your cost management console needs or billing and cost management console needs. Also, this is the location where you can select if you want RI and SP and custom pricing to be factored into the recommendation results. That's another setting that's in there. That's a great setting for organizations that want to look at savings after discounts, or you can turn it off to look at on-demand savings if you don't want specific engineering organizations to have to worry about RI and SP commitments and just look at the on-demand savings amounts. So those are the 4 launches. I would invite you, like after the session, we'll make ourselves available to answer any additional questions for you. It's very important that you take an opportunity to provide us feedback, because we love that feedback and we use that feedback to prioritize our roadmap, what additional features and recommendation types we build. So please go ahead and use this QR code to provide feedback. And thank you all for coming.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps X 2025 content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.